All right, wonderful.
Yeah,
So, should we wait for a couple of more minutes or should we get started now?
I think let's start because anyway it's going to be 5 minutes past our time. So I'll do a brief
Okay,
introduction and then
sure,
I would hand it over to you, Abhijit.
sure,
Okay.
go ahead.
Yeah. All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another webinar of Arise Lamka. Today we have a very interesting discussion and topic, which is on engineering as a career. So we Indians are known to pursue engineering as one of the most popular career choices that we do. I mean, if we go to any of the cities or even in rural areas, so engineering has always been, if not the top, it will be among the top two career choices that students usually have in their mind. So we are going to discuss today through our special guest, Abhijit Butala, who is a good friend of mine through the Executive MBA program from IIT Bombay and Washington University in St. Louis. So we are very pleased to have him today, and his birthday is only a few days ago. So we want to wish him maybe a belated birthday to him also again. And
Thanks, Ram.
another very I would say congratulatory note that I would like to bring here. I don't know if it is appropriate or not, but he has been recently promoted as the managing director of Marmon Global Innovation Center in Bangalore. So congratulations, Abhijit, on that. And if I break the news too soon, maybe we can discuss offline. Okay.
No, today,
So
today, today is the right time to do that because it is actually effective from today.
first,
So,
yes,
I'll update
yes.
my LinkedIn profile today or tomorrow.
All right, all right. Okay. And just a quick brief on what we are trying to do, through this Arise Lamka project. Will take the participant through that. So it's a non-profit kind of project which I have been thinking about and then actually executed or launched it in January 15, 2023. So there are three phases of executing this project. The first phase is inform. So we are informing the students from Lamka and surrounding areas on the various career choices that is available in at this point in time, right? So that is the first stage. Second stage is I call it as equip. So we will mentor and coach our students who doesn't know what to do next. Let's say if they attend today's session and they say, okay, I want to become an engineer, but that's a very vast career choice, right? You can go within engineering also. There are so many streams, there are so many branches, there are so many institutions. So what do you do next? Where do you go next? So that's where we will come in and then guide the students. We will basically also connect them with people who would have more knowledge about it, who have already gone through that. So that is the second phase. Third phase is wherein we would try to raise enough funds so that maybe support some of the students. Maybe we might not be able to give full scholarship to some of the institutions, but maybe the living expenses to some extent. So that is what we are planning to do. But this is dependent on the amount of fund which we would be able to raise. We don't have much fund right now, but we are hoping that we will be able to do something on this front also. Right? So that's how we are trying to impact the life of students from Lamka through this project. All right. So without much further ado, I would hand it over to Abhijit. I know I gave only brief introduction. I would request him if he wants to add to that introduction. He may do so. After that, then we will go to our main topic today. And like we mentioned earlier, we want this to be an interactive session wherein participants keeps on asking questions in between. So we don't mind that. So let's keep on asking questions or maybe give comments if relevant. Right? That's what we are going to do. Okay, over to you, Abhijit.
Lal, thanks a lot for the introduction, and thanks for first of all inviting me for this session. I think that's great to interact with all of you and probably share whatever limited knowledge I have about the engineering domain. I just want to let you know, guys, that even I come from a very humble and small town called Ratnagiri in Maharashtra. It may not. It is though it is a district place. I come from that town basically. So I just kind of easily correlate with all of you, and I'm really feeling happy that whatever I have learned in last 25 years, I can at least share with you, so that all of you or some of you who wants to go for engineering side, you will take an informed decision rather than just because my friend went to XYZ branch, I also went for the same branch, and now I'm not developing any interest in that, right? I think that's the whole idea of this session, just to make you aware about what are the different options available within engineering, and when we choose any particular branch of engineering, what that means and what kind of careers we can make in those part of branches. So that's kind of overview I'm going to give you today. As Lal mentioned, let's keep it more interactive. If you guys can unmute yourself and ask any questions in between, please do that. If anybody wants to put it on the chat message, even that's fine. Lal, just keep a tab of the chats, because when I move to the presentation mode, I won't be able to see the Gmeet screen, unfortunately.
Yes, yes, sure.
Okay. All right. Let's get started, guys. So this is how we are going to cover three major topics basically today. As we said, that what are the engineering courses, then what are the career options if you go for those or any of that particular course, and then how to select the specialization, right? How to go for selection of any particular branch, whether it is mechanical, electrical, computer science, or whatnot. So we'll just try to give you that brief. So today I'm going to cover these five different engineering branches basically, and these are quite fundamental engineering courses. Of course, depending on these, and then depending on some additional specialization, there are of course many more branches being available at this moment. But then I think if I look at this, these are the pretty old as well as very common branches, and almost every industry, you name it, will need these kind of engineers on their roles for playing various different positions. So let's talk about computer science first. Okay, before that, the sequence 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is not in the sequence of importance. It is just happened to be like that. So do not think that computer science is the top number one versus civil engineering is the last one or something like that. Just for clarity. So what comes to your mind, guys, when we say about computer science engineering? Can anyone quickly tell me? There is nothing right or wrong here. It's going to be a kind of learning together. So please feel free to unmute yourself and tell me about your understanding about computer science engineering.
All right, yeah, I'll go. So the word, like whenever the word computer science engineering comes up, I guess like you'll be involved with software, all those.
Yep, that's right. What else? John, thank you. Alright, so John said, which is absolutely correct, it's a software engineering. But then now, of course, within software engineering, there are lots and lots of different variety of softwares and different roles to be played by any individual. So let's go one by one. So of course, even it can be IT consultant, so which is not directly related to software, but then this professional can help any organization to set up their IT infrastructure and also then manage that IT infrastructure. So when I say IT infrastructure, it is servers or either on-premise servers or cloud-based servers, and of course all the networking requirements within the office, and then how those are going to communicate to each other, what kind of password protection policies are going to be defined for that organization depending on the I would say confidentiality to be maintained on the data and those kind of stuff, right? So that's the IT consultant. Cyber security, this is becoming a very big and very very important domain. So when I say cyber security, guys, I'm sure all of you must have known about at least the viruses and the malware or the ransomware. So what is happening? The way we have good professionals, we have good organizations. Unfortunately, there are some bad elements also in the world who hacks your systems, who tries to hack your bank accounts, who tries to hack your data, and then encrypt it, right? And imagine now for any organization, suppose it's a technological organization or R&D organization, and we have lots and lots of our design data, which is confidential data, and somebody hacks my system and the server and encrypts all the data, which I cannot retrieve, right? And in order to now retrieve that data, they do the blackmailing. They say that, hey, I need to pay XYZ $million in order for them to release the data. So that is a huge loss to the company. And imagine now this happens to a company like a banking organization like banking system or hospital, where the private data, personal data has been hacked. So even it can really dent the brand image of the organization, not only just monetary losses. And that is the reason cybersecurity is becoming a very, very, very important field in any of the organization. And by learning computer science engineering and then doing some kind of additional specialization, one can become a cybersecurity professional. Software development, software is again a pretty broad word, but then it could be website development, application development, and so on and so forth. I think that is pretty clear. Data engineer, so this is another big growing field, I would say, these days, that all of us know, all of us use the smartphone, all of us have the Gmail account, all of us use the GPS and so many different things for our day-to-day life. And we know that all these applications on our mobiles are collecting lots and lots of data from us, right? And these companies, like even Facebook, you take Twitter, you take Google, all these companies are collecting huge data. And then that data, then they are processing it, they are understanding what are the trends, what Lal prefers, what are Lal's choices, where he has gone last summer versus what kind of travel suggestion I can give to him this summer, and so many different things, right? So that is where overall data engineering is a big field. Within data engineering, there are again many compartments. Somebody can be specialized in organizing the data. Somebody can be specialized in analyzing the data. Somebody can specialize in finding the trends and reporting back to the business in a required form. So these are all different fields within data engineering somebody can think of. IoT engineering. Anybody has heard a word called IoT? Internet of Things? Guys? And if it is no, it's okay. It's not something that it's must for us to know. Okay, so let me explain what is Internet of Things. So I think just a small example at our home, many of the new air conditioning systems which are coming into the market, you guys can operate those air conditioning, set the temperatures, or even switch on the air conditioning through your mobile application, right? That is again a very simplistic example of IoT. So what happens is your mobile is connected to internet, your AC device is connected to the internet, and then through an app you can switch on even remotely when you are not at home, so that when you reach home you can, or you want to have your room already cooled. So that's the IoT device, Internet of Things. And this is a very simple example, but then there could be many such I would say industry level examples where you can monitor the entire factory remotely, right? You may not need to have people in the all three shifts in the factory. Supervisor can just sit at home and or anywhere else and then keep monitoring if everything is going fine. And how this happens is there are a lot of sensors associated and attached to this machinery, which keeps on sending certain data like pressures, temperatures, vibrations, noise, so many different things, right, to the internet. And then from that internet, again, your computer is connected and you can see all that data on your computer. So if at all in any of the systems suddenly you see that temperature is rising, that means there is something possibly wrong. And then you guys can either remotely switch off that machine or ask somebody to attend that for a maintenance purpose. So it's a different domain altogether. So in again IoT, there are sensing devices as a part of domain, and then software development required for IoT is another domain. Yes, anyone has questions?
Abhijit, this since you have recently bought a new car also, so
Yes.
the infotainment which is available in the car, including, let's say, the 360 view of the car, and the sensors wherein the proximity sensors, can we also categorize those features under IoT, or is it only within limited within, let's say, offices or maybe home IoT devices, or IoT as when we talk about that, or can
No,
we also say the car related thing also is also IoT?
yes, it's a great question. So not the infotainment as such or the 360-degree camera would be termed as IoT, but then actually nowadays most of the advanced automotive cars, even including my car, has the facility where I can start the car on through my mobile, even
Okay.
remotely. I don't need to be close to my car at all, right? Or I can lock and unlock the doors of my car remotely, right? If something happens to the car, like some big third happens, somebody just bangs my car in my absence in a parking lot, I automatically get the messages and alerts that, hey, I think there is some intrusion is trying, somebody is trying to intrude in your car. So all these are kind of IoT.
Okay.
Because what happens is now in my car there is a probably SIM based technology which is continuously communicating to the internet, and the app on my mobile, when I am connecting to the internet, my app also is connecting to that same cloud or the server which the Toyota is getting interacted with. So this is definitely a IoT example that I can handle my car or I can keep watching my car remotely.
All right. Thanks.
Okay, but then yeah, that's a great question, Lal, because people can correlate to their day-to-day life. All right, the next one is database admin. So again, as we said, it is similar to data engineering, but then this is more of, if you have heard about the data warehouses or huge data centers where lots and lots of servers are being established, and those servers are not only just collecting the data but also processing the data, right? So if somebody is interested in maybe designing the data centers or managing the data centers, so those kind of fields are available as part of the database admin. This is more of a systems engineering, right? Systems admin. So that means whatever systems any company uses, different softwares, the intranet, internet, and so many different things. So they need some power users who control that, and then make sure that any employee who is supposed to get certain access, they have it, versus any employee who is supposed to not get certain access, they don't have it, right? So it's all that kind of management is done by system admin. Multimedia programmer. So again, I hope all of us know what is multimedia. It's YouTube, Twitter, or your LinkedIn, Facebook, and those kind of social media. So of course, in order for you to run the social media, there is a different type of programming, different type of language is used, different type of framework is required. So it's again a software development, but in a very niche to multimedia or the social media related programming. And then of course, I think most of you must be happy to see that the games development, right? So how many of you actually play video games? I'm sure, I think most of you. So then somebody is designing those games, right? Somebody is designing, somebody is making those games, and somebody is making it more interesting. So this itself is a very good, very big field. A lot of backend programming is required to create a very high intensity games. But at the same time, on the front end side, not related to computer science, but then there is another branch available which is more of an animation side, right? Because most of these games are having a lot of animation, and how much that animation you can make it more and more close to reality, that is where probably people will get excited more rather than having more of a cartoonish kind of animation. So that also is a different field altogether, not directly under computer science, but then that is available. So let me take a pause after my first branch of engineering, if any questions. Nope. All right. So we'll move to the next one, electronics and communication engineering. So now in computer science, we saw most of the software side of the story, right? Now, when we talk about electronics and communication, it is more of a hardware side of the story. So when you see your laptop is a physical device, right? And it has a lot of PCBs inside it. PCB is nothing but printed circuit board. There are a lot of chips on it, right? And then that is nothing but called as hardware, or your phone for that matter, right? Phone is a device which has a Gorilla Glass as a display, which is a touch screen, and behind the glass there are a lot of electronic circuitry, and then the battery, and so on and so forth. So anything and everything what you deal with the hardware, if you are having a background of electronics engineering, that helps a lot. So this is what I meant when we say hardware designer. So it is like designing the printed circuit board, how those components have to interact with each other, what output that circuit board should give when that gets certain type of input, right? So designing all that logics is nothing but hardware design. It's a physical board design. The chip design. So all of you know that Intel or AMD, right, or even in your phones you have the microprocessors from Snap. What is that? Sorry, Lal, I forgot the chipsets. What is used in mobile?
Snapdragon.
Yeah, that's right. Right. So those companies, right? You need a chip designer. So it is a very small, tiny chip. It could be, some chips could be just fitting on your fingertip, and some chips could be at least an inch by inch, depending on what kind of processing power and what kind of how many circuitries we are building in that. But this is again a very niche field, very demanding field, and very growing field, because not only computers, if you really see today, each and every electronic item, including your car, including your phone, including your laptop, including your gaming console, including anything, has the chip in it, right? Including your microwave and even the refrigerator in your kitchen. So this is a very growing field. This will never die. Rather, more and more it will become more and more. I would say technology savvy. The chips are going to keep growing, and that is why if you really see, even now in India, our government and some of the big companies have taken an initiative of making the chips in India. So one is chip design, but even once if the fabs are being established here, there could be a complete different career path will be open for a lot of electronics engineers to work in those kind of fabs. Embedded programming. So this is again a software programming, but then which is required to use to program these kind of chips. So the languages what you use are very different than normal software programming or the web application what you develop for. And this also, as the chip market is growing, as the chip manufacturing is growing, definitely embedded programming is growing, because we need to have special programmers who understands the application, who understands the bigger engineering aspect of it, and then design the programs where the chip will actually deliver the output according to those programs. This is something again PLC designer or the PLC programming. So this is a device which is generally used in control panels or the automation in the factories, and then that is a separate I would say domain altogether. There are companies like Allen Bradley or Rockwell Automation who are specialized and makes very good PLC programming devices, and those are customizable. You can quickly change the program. you don't need to really change the chip, or you don't need to really create a big embedded programming. It's more of a very easy machine language you can use for those PLC programming. Mechatronics, it's a combination of mechanical and electronics, and that is mainly used for automation, the robotics, and those kind of areas where a professional need to know enough about mechanical engineering as well as on the electronics engineering. And to be very honest, as we are growing and making more and more things automated or overall robotics, the mechatronics engineers demand is growing in the market. And any product you take nowadays, it's very difficult to say, hey, this is a purely mechanical product versus this is a purely electronics product. Most of the products are having a combination of mechanical and electronics as a part of it. Machine learning. So let me just take a pause. How many of you have heard word machine learning? Or how many of you have heard word AI, artificial intelligence? Okay, so I'm all right. Good. So guys, machine learning is nothing but basically whenever we have some kind of I would say automated machines, or say again robots basically. So the language which is required to program these kind of machines, right? That is machine language. And then again, if you embed AI into that, even the machine starts learning on its own, right? As and when they experiences different scenarios or the different factors in the daily operations. So all the algorithms which are required for machines to now then start learning and correcting themselves is part of machine learning. It's a big field again. It's growing now exponentially. So somebody can make a career out of machine learning as well. All right, let me take a quick pause for any questions before we get into mechanical and electrical engineering. Okay, so I'm not sure whether whatever I'm saying is it all 100% absorbed or nothing is absorbed, because there are no questions.
Yeah, yeah. We can use the chat features also.
Yes.
If there is any question, you can type it there so that I can read it out for you. Just excuse me. Not I care let a take sound no take siam lo bang le hong pao kiang lan which a way lem tan ki le chat pena a message pena get take ki con tay sakri yeah thank you.
So far very interesting, Abhijit.
Okay.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
We are listening without without not letting to disturb by any question. So just concentrate.
Okay, so no, I would not feel like a disturbance for sure, guys. Let's keep it more interactive, because I'll tell you this is a very general phenomena that somebody might have questions, but then they might be a little hesitant to ask. But then when they put a courage and ask that question, I'm sure the remaining people also may feel, oh, even I had the same question. Thanks to you that you asked, right? So please go ahead. If you don't want to unmute yourself, feel free to put that in chat so that we will be able to answer your questions.
Okay.
All right, good. So you must be wondering that why I club together mechanical and electrical engineering. So the answer is most of the job profiles, what I'm going to explain, or the career options, what I'm going to explain, are very common for mechanical as well as electrical engineering. Of course, the domain in which you will work will be different. Mechanical engineer will focus more from a mechanical perspective, and electrical guy will focus more from electrical perspective. However, the career options would be close to each other. So when we say product designer, right? So this product designer is like more of an industrial design or the aesthetic design, right? So when you see any simplistic product like a water bottle, somebody has designed the shape of that bottle, and that's where some bottle looks very cool and nice, and some bottle doesn't look good, some bottle looks ugly. It all depends on how and who has really designed that bottle, water bottle, how that should look like. Same applies to the cars, right? Or any of the product what we see day in day out. Let it be furniture, let it be automotive, let it be our home appliances. Some product looks very cool and nice, some product doesn't look good, and that all is nothing but the product designing. So it's for product designing, you need a technical expertise, but at the same time you need more of artistic strength as well, right? You should be good in imagining, you should be good in sketching and doing the putting your concepts in much better way. So if somebody feels that along with technical I have that skill and that would be my really interesting area, the product design could be a good option for you guys. Then product development, right? So when I say product design and product development, product designer designs the aesthetics of the product, how it should look like, and once that is finalized, the product developer actually develops the product to look similar, considering all the aspects of different materials, different finishes, different manufacturing processes, and so on and so forth. If we take the same example of water bottle, so somebody will design only how the bottle should look like. But then now if the company decides to make that bottle in plastic, then how that plastic component should be designed so that it can be manufactured would be done by the product developer. So I hope all of you are clear about the difference between product designer and product developer. And that same is applicable for electrical engineering. In electrical engineering, they will be involved in designing the motors, designing the MCBs, and designing the power lines and so many different things. Of course, there the aesthetic piece won't come much in the play, because most of the electrical equipments are part of some of the bigger systems, and it doesn't need to be really aesthetically good. It's a functional element, right? Once you design the product, somebody has to make the product, right? And that is what is nothing but production engineering. So the skill set required for production engineering are different than the skill set required to design the product. However, both these I would say professionals need to have technical knowledge, either into mechanical or electrical or sometimes electronics, depending on what kind of production we are going to do. But then in the particularly for production, assume that you are very good at processes, right? You are very good at following the certain methods, and then making sure that you can consistently do same job again and again and again. I think the production engineering could be a good option for you. Also, there are lots and lots of additional, the way we saw about the automation and robotics in any of the production environment, in order to speed up the production, bring more accuracy than the human can bring. All those areas that automation or those kind of things would be useful, and that could be added skill to the production engineer. Then comes as a maintenance engineering. So any factory, if you are running continuously by machines, definitely those machines are going to fail one or the other time, right? And somebody needs to maintain that on time so that the production doesn't get hampered and the company can continue to produce their product regularly. So that is where the maintenance department comes into picture. And maintenance team generally will involve the mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, sometimes, as I said, electronics engineers, depending on what type of systems you have in your factory which are need to be maintained. Even if you see the if you take your car to the service station, there are teams who actually services your car. So they are also actually maintaining your car. So it's not only the maintenance is required in factory, right? Even the cars can be maintained, which is nothing but we call it as a servicing. But then even same way, any appliances, your home appliances need servicing, needs maintenance. When it breaks down, you need to call some technician to get it repaired. So those could be even freelancing jobs available for this kind of field. It doesn't need to be that you need to be only employed in any of the organization. Again, mechatronics comes into picture here also. Mechanical engineers and electrical engineers, along with their electronics knowledge and little bit of mechanical knowledge, definitely they can play a great role in mechatronics. Robotics. Just give me 1 second, please. So robotics is again a new field. If you look at even the drones, automated or self-driving drones is nothing but a robot, right? The only thing it is also flying. It's not just only walking. Robots are used for improving the safety of the employee. Robots are used in hazardous environment where you can't send the human being and you can send the robots. Robots can also use in defense system where for diffusing the bombs or even identifying where exactly the bomb so that you can save the human lives. So robots have so many applications beyond our imagination, and that is definitely a very very big and growing field. Anyone has any questions?
No, I just want to add that's where I'm there right now, right? My company, Tata Aerospace and Defense, is
That's correct.
developing
That's correct.
the UAVs.
Yeah. Process automation. So I think I just quickly touched that upon when I was explaining about the production engineering. So in order to speed up the production, in order to produce more number of goods in the same amount of time, you need to automate the process. You need to make sure that the speed of the production line is increased, and it cannot be increased by human beings beyond certain limit. And that is where in certain cases automation comes into picture, or there are another ways that if there is a very very mundane but repetitive job, that for example I'm just putting the cap to this bottle every now and then throughout my 8 hours of shift. As a human being, I think we can make use of human brains for much better activity rather than doing something like this. And this can be done through automation, or robots can be placed, or some different custom designs can be done, and this operation can be removed from a human labor to the machine, and that person can be elevated by improving their skills to play a much better job rather than doing just only this repetitive job. Sourcing engineering. So for all this production what we do, it is not that everything we make in-house. We source a lot of components from outside companies who are expert into that, and definitely that is also another career, that how knowing the technical domain I can, instead of designing the product or being a production engineer, I can become a sourcing specialist. And then structural engineering. This is more of a finite element analysis which somebody can use for making sure that whatever structure they are designing, whether it is an automotive car, whether it's a home appliances, whether it's a motor, right, whether it will withstand the operational stresses or not. That means whether it will withstand the loads it's going to be experiencing, whether it can withstand the temperatures it is going to experience during the operations, and whether it can whether it can withstand the vibrations or the other parameters whatever it may have. So all that comes under structural engineering. That is again very specialized domain. You need to be very good at materials, you need to be very good at applied mechanics, which is a science of understanding the stress, strain, and deflections of your material, how it happens. And then apart from that, if you learn some of the computer softwares which are required to do this kind of analysis, then one can become a structural engineer. Alright, so let me take one more quick pause to see if there are any questions. Okay, there are no questions in the chat box also.
Yeah, no questions so far.
Okay. Alright, so I'll move to or if anyone wants to ask the questions in your language to Lal, please do that so that Lal can
Yes.
translate for me. Please go ahead. I'll just wait for a few seconds.
No, om le leon dom le china I kon tot song sa thi ma isa pa wa proxy se halo today.
Okay. Okay, so now let me ask questions. Now I'm going to pick up the people if nobody, no volunteers. So what do you mean by civil engineering, or what do you feel? What kind of career options a civil engineer can have? Volunteer yourself before I start picking somebody. No?
Making roads and bridges.
Yes, absolutely. Building your houses, right? Anything else? All right. That was a good start. Thanks, MK. Yes, construction engineering, right? Again, it's a RCC construction, it's a load-bearing construction, depending on what kind of buildings you are making and how many storage building you are making. And definitely a civil engineer can get into the construction engineering, which is more of a big RCC constructions. Urban planning, so it is not actually getting into the construction, but then planning a city, planning a town, planning a small satellite area, right? So how the overall I would say placement of certain supermarkets, flea markets, the residential area, the civic amenities, the transportation within that, the metros versus roads versus water lanes in many areas, and those kind of stuff, right? All that city planning is coming under this urban planning. That's extremely important. Of course, most of the jobs in these kind of area would be government jobs, because government bodies are the one who designs the cities for at least within in India. This structural engineering is a little different than the structural engineering what we saw in mechanical and electrical engineering, right? And you can clearly see there is a huge breach here. The tunnels, the bridges, or those kind of stuff, right? That requires a good amount of structural engineering, because we have to ensure that if it is in a earthquake prone zone, if it is in a wet zone, if it is in a hard rocky zone, how that entire structure should be designed and how it can withstand for next 50 to 100 years. So do you guys remember there is a recent news that Indian Railways have built world's probably, I think, highest bridge ever, right? And that is somewhere in North India, in Jammu Kashmir area. Have you heard about that?
In Leh?
Yeah, that's right. And that's amazing. That requires huge structural engineering, because there is a huge arch which connects from one mountain to other mountain, and then it covers the entire valley, and that arch is actually giving the strength to that bridge to kind of withstand at such a high altitude. Right, water resource engineering. So this is mainly designing the dams and making sure that water conservation is done, water storage is done, and those kind of stuff. Transportation. So designing the roads, constructing the roads, right? Rails, then even the metros and whatnot, even airports. And all these requires a different kind of knowledge as compared to building a house or the apartment, right? Because the roads are requiring a different knowledge, but definitely the basics of it is civil engineering. So do you feel getting into infrastructure is a good option in India as of now, when we see how the infrastructural development is happening within India?
Yes,
What do you guys
sir.
feel?
Yeah, I feel it's very
Yeah,
good.
absolutely. Because we unfortunately we did not spend enough on the infrastructure, and now we are putting it. So there are lots and lots of infrastructural projects that are going to continue to happen. It's not going to get over in next 5 or 10 years. It will continue to happen, because as our population grows, as our cities are growing, as our needs will grow, we will need to keep on improving our infrastructure. Now, another field is in environmental, right? So, water treatment plants, how to make sure that we are treating all the sewage water which is generated by the cities, and then the clean water is being either dispensed back into the rivers or something like that, rather than sending the sewage water into the rivers, right? And we need a big plants, STP plants for that, and designing, developing those plants has a different skill set again required, but then basis of it is again civil engineering. Geotechnical engineering, so this is more of a I would say mining or those kind of fields where again civil engineering comes into picture. And construction project management, so here what happens, it's a more of a PMO, project management office, who takes care of bigger project. Like for example, let's take an example of a airport construction. Now within airport construction there are again lots and lots of different domains. Like runway construction itself is a different thing, airport planning, then landscaping, gardening, the airport building which is aesthetically designed, the internal I would say the escalators, the lifts, as well as the conveyor belts which carries all our luggages. All those are different systems. Then announcing system, the ATC which controls the entire air traffic, that tower design, the machinery which is required for managing those towers, radars, and so many different things. Now, what this PMO does basically, or the project management office does it, they coordinate with all different vendors who makes all these things possible. They also define the sequence of events need to happen before the entire airport actually gets commissioned. And according to that, they do the entire project management. They make sure that everything is happening on time, and then it brings to the table. Because otherwise, if you leave it to all 100 different vendors to manage their own work in coordination with other vendors, it is going to be a very chaotic situation. So that's where this itself is having a huge potential to make your career. So if you are very good at timekeeping, if you are very good at following the I would say following and coordination across different multiple domain people, if you are basically construction project management. But then if you become a mechanical engineer, there also you can do a project or program management, which is very similar role, but more on a mechanical domain side. All right, so one more pause before we get into the further nitty-gritties of all these job profiles what we talk about. Come on guys, even I need some break so that I can stop, maybe give a rest to my voice box. So you keep talking. Somebody take a volunteership. No? Okay. So the kind of jobs what we talked about, right? Again, if we further break it down, within that there could be multiple different areas where the same type of job and same kind of technical knowledge will help you. So that's where what I am defining here is a product development cycle, right? That means any product you take, whether it's an electronics product, whether it's an electrical product, a mechanical product, like again water bottle or your pen or your mobile phone, you take any product, right? Or even this spectacle, how is it been made? So it generally follows this kind of 7-8 steps basically. So you can say that first, of course, there is a product development idea, right? And that idea is nothing but the product designer. If I told you, if you remember, that the one who actually is going to design how this should look like, even this spectacle, right? If this is how that somebody has designed this shape, somebody has decided, okay, this is how it should, and this is the color kind of thing. That's how somebody has kind of thought through, right? Then as part of the validate the idea, that's where the actual product development, prototyping, testing, everything comes into picture, right? And that's where we talked about build a prototype once the design is ready. and then test it. So all these areas will need different skill set of people. So the same, I'll just take a mechanical engineer as an example. So a mechanical engineer can be a product designer who designs how the product should look like. Then that's a one way and one stream of somebody's growth path. Then somebody can develop the product. Then they can decide, okay, if this is the plastic frame, then that frame has to be at least minimum this thickness, because otherwise I can't make it, or it will break very easily. Then what type of plastic to be used, right? What type of processes to be followed in order to manufacture it, and that's the kind of design product development activity. So you can make a career in that. Now, same mechanical engineer, once the product samples are built, needs to test it. So even this spectacle will undergo a lot of different testing. Like it should probably do the cycle testing of this hinge which has been used, so that it should not loosen out, and that itself is a testing. So we need a testing engineers who can do that testing. Same process is applicable for software. So software designing, software development, and software testing, right? Even before somebody can launch the software or even the website, they have to make sure that they are testing it thoroughly, so that so that there are no bugs are found. And that's where you must be seeing that you keep on getting newer and newer patches on your computer, on your laptop, on your mobile, as part of the software updates. So why? Because the software is being tested, then they identifies, okay, there are some bugs, or as the requirements are increasing now, in order for sustaining the new safety threats, we need to add new more patches. So that's the kind of testing activity has been done in software as well as in other engineering activities, right? Then there is a production design to be product to be built. So you need to have people who can design the production line, who can actually execute the day-to-day production. Then once the product is released, of course, it has to go into the market, and then it gets sold. But then the company keeps on collecting the field feedback. How the end consumer is using my product. How are they happy, not happy with my product? And according to that, once we collect the information, we need to do the continuous improvement in our product. And that is the reason you can see that even the mobile phones, your versions are keep on changing, because somebody brought 4 camera that became very popular. So almost every company started adding 3 or 4 cameras in their phones. That's a continuous improvement. So it's not a completely new phone they are bringing to the market. It is more and more features they are adding, more and more I would say feedback what they are getting from their consumers are being implemented. And all these areas you need a different skill set in order for making your career. But then same mechanical engineer can build career in any of these 7 steps depending on his or her interest as well as the strength. So that's the point I'm trying to make it here. Yep. So that's what we discussed about, and all are very equally important. There is nothing like the product designing is greater than product production, because if you only design the product but there is not enough people who can produce the product, it is still a waste, right? You can't then bring the product to the market. So every stage is very important. Yes, Lal?
No, I'm just saying, I'm just agreeing to what you're saying.
Yeah. Thanks. So now we are at the last slide of our presentation, that what are our key factors for selecting the engineering specialization. So I can tell you my story. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough exposure what to do, what kind of engineering I should select. And fortunately or unfortunately, somebody in my family guided me, saying that, okay, you just go to the mechanical engineer. I went to it. I was lucky enough that after completing the engineering, I actually developed the interest towards mechanical engineering. And that's the reason last 25 years I have been able to still deliver or work in this domain. But that is not the story every time it happens, right? And that's the reason I would like you guys to really think what is your real area of interest. Do not think just because my friends, my neighbors are going this way, or my cousins have gone in that direction, that's the reason I will just I will also follow the same one. Please do not do that. try and understand what is going to be your area of interest. According to that, then your next stages you can start deciding. And it is not that only engineering is the career. I hope you guys have already undergone a lot of other webinars with very different options of career. But then if you decide to go for engineering also, look for what is your area of interest, right? Because that is the one, most probably, not always again, but then at least 95 or 96% people will stick to that for next 30, 35 years or 40 years of their life, doing that job. When I say that job, in the sense, doing something in that relation, that particular specialization. So choose it very wisely, right? Then start understand, one is your interest, but then do you really also carry the strengths and the aptitude which is required for that specialization? Let me give you an example. Again, computer science is a buzz everywhere. Even now, lots and lots of people or students prefer to go for computer science, because I think majority of the people look at the probable fat salaries what they can get. But then think of it, that will you be interested in doing the programming and coding day in day out for majority of your life, right? And do you have that aptitude to understand those sign languages, the coding, the programming languages and those kind of stuff? And as the technology keeps on changing, every now and then the technology, the people who are involved in this kind of latest technology, they have to keep themselves upgraded. So is that something you are keen on, taking more and more, learning different computer languages, getting to know different frameworks, getting to, I would say, go for different type of certification? Is that what you are going to really like throughout your life? If the answer is yes, please go for it. There is nothing wrong in it at all. But if the answer is no, I would say rethink about your decision. Then also look for the career scopes in India and abroad, depending on what is your interest, to be in India, to go outside, or wherever. Based on that, look for those career scopes. The way we discuss infrastructure, right? One is that, even the robotics, the mechatronics, even in India, there is huge growth for these domains. And then of course, what is future scope? One is today, when I will pass out of the college after 4 years or 3 years of diploma. But then if I'm going to stick around this particular field for next 20-30 years, then what do you feel? What is the scope? So do that study a little bit, and according to that, decide this branch of engineering what you want to do. Do not follow the herd mentality. Do not just go because your friend has gone there. That friend might have that strength, that interest in reality, and we may not. So I hope all of you must have watched the movie called Three Idiot, right?
Yes.
So the way what he says, that there is one guy who is really interested in photography, but then because of his dad's pressure, he joins engineering. Don't do that. Okay?
I thought that person was you, Abhijit.
I know, as I said, I did it, but I was lucky enough that I developed the interest. Otherwise, it would have been miserable. I'm telling you honestly. Right? So again, choose what suits to your strengths, and keep continuous learning mindset. It is not that only the 3-year course or 4-year course is going to help you throughout your life. The technology is changing day by day. The demands and the requirements are changing day by day. We all have to learn every now and then. You can look at me and Lal, that even after working for 20-25 years, now we are going back to the college to do our MBA. Right? So something or the other, we need to keep learning continuously. Do not stop.
Absolutely.
Right? So thanks a lot for your time, guys. That's all from my side for presentation purpose.
Okay. Let's have a few questions. Let's take a few questions, and then I have
Yes, of
something
course.
which I want to share with everyone also,
Sure.
related to what you discussed. So let's open for Q&A. So
Yeah. Now we need questions from every person
Yes.
whoever
Yes.
is on the call. One question minimum.
dot na udin dot he sini ma ipawale dot he may kan ka yon on a translate something. Or you can write in the chat box also. Yeah, let's ask questions.
Lale, why him kiji pen khak wai hi wai naw phang tam piom hi mo room khata kha wai naw phang te la ka na dong thon di khat kongom le yi wai mau dot te dong le hang mo wai kha ya. Then I think the session was very interesting. I'm not sure, I just came late. In terms of having all those career options in mind, when people choosing for the streams, whether to follow science, whether to follow what subjects, at what point of time in their life they should be deciding, and they should be keeping aware of the subjects that they are choosing at 10, at 12, 10 plus 2. So if you can set some light on that, I think it might be helpful for people who are listening today.
Sure. So I think it's a great question, MK. Thanks a lot for initiating and asking this question. So I'll tell you very honest. I would say what I feel honestly. Okay, because many times we feel that hey, from 6th standard, from 7th standard, we should know what we are going to do. But then, trust me, not parents or not kids are really clear what exactly they want to do at that age. So I have a teenage daughter. She is just in 10th standard, and right now even she is still figuring it out that she has a couple of options, but she's not made her mind that what exactly she wants to really pursue. But then I believe in next 1 year until before she completes her 10th, she will be very clear about it. And I think that's what generally it happens. Generally in that age of 15 to 16, that is somewhere between 9th and 10th, the kids will start at least getting to know that what would be the area of interest for them and what would probably help them to grow their career further. And that is what, better the clarity you have by 10th, it will be helpful for you to choose the right stream for 11th and 12th, right? And according to that, prepare yourself post 12th, what kind of courses you are going to join, and then what is the admission process. According to that, what kind of entrance exam preparation and all those stuff you need to do. Having said that, there are cases that even in my class, when I went through diploma and degree, there were friends who actually went in a different direction altogether, and then they realized that hey, I think this is not really making sense for me because I'm not getting interest in that. Let me go and join the engineering stream. It is absolutely fine in certain cases, if as an exception. Of course, everybody, we don't want to keep switching like that because then even our students will lose the valuable years in their career. But then assume if somebody takes a wrong decision at the 10th or 11th or 12th or even little later than that, and later they realize that hey, I think this is not making sense, I want to shift it. I would say I would encourage parents to also support that decision, provided that it is a reasonable decision and a thoughtful decision, not again because hey, I think Lal change the domain, that's where even Abhijit wants to change the domain. If that is the case, I think we need to have a different discussion with the kids. But otherwise, if there is a legitimate I would say reason behind such change, I think we all should be supportive of those kids, because trying to not to lose those 1 or 2 years where what that person might have gone into, we may end up ruining their next 30-40 years by putting them in the wrong domain. So
True.
as I said, in a short, 10th is the right time where somebody has to at least start narrowing down their options. But in exceptional cases, if somebody gets realization a little late, I think we should not be shying off to make that correction now rather than repenting for the whole life. That would be my take.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, there is one more question. Do we necessarily have to have a college degree or computer or BCA degree to be in the field of coding or programming, or to be a software developer? It's a great question. Answer is actually no. The problem is, if you are going to become a freelancer, I think with or without any educational qualification also, if you specifically grow in your area of interest, you can still make wonders. Unfortunately, in the industry, still the qualification matters. And if you want to join any of the company, private, public, any company, then they would like to make sure that you are at least an undergrad or graduate or postgraduate for certain roles. and that shouldn't become the hurdle for your career growth in future. So education is definitely important. Second thing, what happens, as I mentioned, the software programmer or software developer, right? There are lots and lots of different areas within that software development, as just when we say software development, and probably the kind of uh, I would say exposure somebody can get in colleges and when they learn different subjects, I think that is where the refinement of their career choices may happen. So I would say, if somebody wants to become entrepreneur and freelancer, of course educational qualification even requires there, because if you are getting the funding from the VCs, they look for the educational qualification of founder. So education would be still important. However, only the degree or only the diploma is not going to help. All the students, while trying to study that their regular subjects, they have to study something beyond that. They have to put extra efforts on programming languages on their own, or the CAD packages on their own, or understanding manufacturing processes and all that stuff, depending on what type of engineering you choose. So completing only the degree as per the syllabus is not going to be sufficient anyway. I hope I answered your question. Okay. All right. Good questions coming.
Yeah,
Few more.
yeah. I have a question here, Abhijit. This
Yeah.
is Young. Yeah, hello.
Hi,
First
Zian.
off, I just want to thank, yeah. First off, I just want to thank Lal, the Arise Lamka team, no, for organizing this. I live in the same city as Lal, Lalhmangaih Hauzel, that is, and Bangalore. I try to attend these calls as much as possible, but I just want your perspective on a couple of questions, which
Sure.
I think would be quite common for many of us here.
Mhm.
One is, what's your thought on do we do the bachelor's degree and then start searching for jobs, or do you think master's degree, like an MTech or an ME, right, after the
Mhm.
bachelor's? So, which would you suggest from a long-term career perspective?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. So, see, I think it is very subjective and a very personal decision for anyone to make, because there are a lot of factors which influences your decision whether to stop or take a gap after graduation or immediately go for post graduation,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I think financial requirement is definitely the one which plays a big role in that. And if somebody is financially sound and somebody is really keen on specializing further as part of the masters, and if they feel that once I start working, once I start earning the money, probably going back to the colleges or going back to some masters is going to be difficult, let them definitely go for it in a same journey, right? I'll tell you about myself that I actually completed my diploma first after my 10th.
Yeah.
I started working after my diploma, and then I did my graduation in a part time. That was the evening college, 6 to 9. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I completed my graduation like that, and now after 25 years of my working career, I have enrolled myself for MBA, which is a again, as I said, executive MBA. While working, I am pursuing that. So it all depends what is your core interest. There is no one standard guideline or formula. Second thing is, particularly on a technology field like software development or hardware development, nowadays many people are preferring that after graduation they start working, and then parallelly they start doing some specialization certification courses rather than doing a master's,
Yeah.
right? And that also can really give them a very great career, because it all depends now in which area you are making your career. And every time only complete masters may not help, and this kind of even certification courses will help you to really gather knowledge much faster, because the certification courses are even quick, like 3 months or 6 months course you can do, complete your certification, and then actually start delivering that in your job.
Yep.
So unfortunately, yeah, I know I won't be able to give you one straight answer because there are lots and lots of factors depending on every individual condition.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Abhijit. And just a follow up on that.
Sure.
I know this is also another dilemma that many of the engineers face, right? Whether to take up an MTech or like you do an MBA, right? So, what do you think, as your understanding or whatever experience you have had, what do you think is a more rewarding option, as in technical
Sure.
line or an MBA?
Sure. So again, there what happens, one has to understand what is their interest area, right?
Right.
If an engineer wants to make their career into more on a technical domain, at least initially for 8 to 10 years before getting into some different areas, I would say a technical degree will help them, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, if somebody wants to grow more or make their career more on sales or marketing side, but the technical knowledge is required, then after graduation doing MBA makes sense.
Mm.
But let's not make a mistake that I want to remain a product designer, I want to grow into that, but then I wanted to do masters, so I did MBA. So what happens then at early stage of your career, that MBA doesn't count much because you are not actually utilizing what you have learned in MBA because you are hardcore on the technical side,
Yeah.
right? So I think I completely agree that this kind of dilemma where most of the people face it, and I think this is where somebody has to decide that if I want to grow in technical, then I would rather learn more on technical side. MBA I can do even later. Right,
Mhm.
so that I can establish my career, I can make sure I am technically strong, and then if I'm growing into a upper management ladder, and then that's where I need to know more about management, I can even do MBA at that time,
You're right. Right.
right? Whereas sales and marketing, then doing masters and getting into more and more technical domain, but then later actually in your career you are not doing anything technical job, you are majorly doing on a sales and marketing job, then probably getting into masters like MTech or something like that won't make sense. There you get more of a MBA because you'll improve your soft skills, you'll improve your communication skills, and then that will help you to play your role better.
All right. Yeah. Thanks. And I think this would be my last one, Abhijit.
Don't worry. As many as questions. Don't worry.
I just heard from you that you also did your evening college kind of for your graduation, right? I'm not sure. I came in a bit late, so I'm not sure which city you're based out of. But do you know, or can you suggest any good colleges which offers such evening courses for engineering, maybe in Bangalore or any other city for that matter?
Yeah. So I live in Bangalore right now, but I did my graduation from Pune.
Okay.
And unfortunately, at that time, there were only 2 colleges within entire Maharashtra. One was in Pune and one was in Mumbai, who were offering this kind of part-time courses.
Okay.
Okay, I do not know in Karnataka if there are any such colleges available. But then, yeah, I mean, in Pune, the Wadia College, it's a Pune University degree you get. It's a very similar to what you get it for full-time degree. Because there is no concession for part-time except 3-year course. You do it in 4 years because you have less number of subjects every year.
Yeah.
But then all the theory exams are exactly same. All the practical exams are exactly same as full-time, not employment, sorry, the full-time course.
Yeah.
And all the attendance requirements, submission, everything is exactly same except you attend only 3 hours a day college, whereas a full-time student attends probably 6 hours a day of college. That was the only difference.
Okay.
But I'm sorry, in Karnataka, I'm not aware if any of the institutes are offering this kind of part-time courses.
Sure. All right. Thanks a lot, Abhijit.
Yeah.
This has been
Thanks a
really
lot.
helpful.
It's a great questions here.
Yeah. Thank you, Lal. Back to you.
Yeah. Thanks, Sam. All right. So just one thing I want to share quickly. Just give me 1 minute. So Arise Lamka has, has signed an MOU, more like a partnership, or can call it collaboration also, with RV University in Bangalore. Um, so the terms of the MOU was that they would reserve one seat for each of the different schools that they have. So one of the school is School of Computer Science and Engineering. I'm sharing this because it is relevant to what we discussed today, and for parents or maybe students or anyone else who have joined us and who have been staying with us till this time, I just want to inform you that we have a seat reservation, one seat reservation for this school. So it's a good opportunity for people to avail this opportunity. And not only the seat reservation, we also as a team has asked the university to reduce the fee for let's say, if you can see here in the screen, let's say if someone is eligible, if they are able to make it through the entrance exam, and if they're able to take up, let's say, BTech in, let's say, product development, for example, or AI or machine learning, then they would be giving us 50 to 75% fee waiver for that. So that is part of the the MOU that we have signed with RV University in Bangalore. So you can, I would be glad, we would be glad if you can spread this message and start preparing for this also. So I'm not saying that RV University is the only one where you can do your engineering degree, but we have an agreement with them. So if you would like to explore that and then take advantage of it, then we would be more than happy to help the students. So that's what I want to share, because it is relevant to what Abhijit has discussed here. Okay, let's take one last question from anyone. Have to do Kim Tombing let now pang tia kipat tot nop phong na niyo here.
We don't have. We're just listening. This is the first time listening to this kind of what to say. I don't know. This is our first time, and we're staying in Kirtanpur in Thanlon Convention English School. So we are staying in hostel, and the one we're sitting in front of you, we're all class 7 boys, 7 and 8 boys. So
all right.
It was a great year for you.
Hetu nu kim le na pang te tu nga ki pa thu kon gen dia hi on hong tel to zelun lan hi le I atuam akigen sa le I kigen to di om din chen wai te tum chu ya khan no le okay class 10 ka zo chia nga bang hi di I koi lam I bang subject la di chi khong bang ai ke le I koi college kai di chi khong kha do wa dia kha I na thi na wa on join to zelun lan I tot nop om le ki le direct ta ga le on tong thi na hiu wai kha hong tel to zel le chin hi le I no wa de phat tuam na om din wa ki pa wa ye so Abhijit
Kita lupa mai. Cô à tia kha. Ai dùng mà hiểu tu pa. Cô kha. Hello.
Hi ke lo
Cô kha first time na. Mình nào phăng tiền kha. Tâm ruột thì xem luôn. Mình mà English ai gen chẳng à le. Why kha. Kha gì chả em bao còn nên translate qua để cái bảo vậy mà đi ra.
Poi het lo poi
Phăng tiền là mìnhคนlâu mà. Why.
Thì xiam le tua ma no to hi thak no ni chi de le poi lo lai hi a hun di khong on gen leu china mo poi het lo ei bao ma ki hil thak ke ai chin
Le.
all right so Abhijit, so what we were discussing was right, so these are the students from, I would say, the rural areas in my district. So they were attending this for the first time. They might not understand all things that we have discussed, so they're saying like maybe we can do another session wherein I can explain to them in my local language or dialect. That is what they have requested. So maybe I will try to see what I can do here. But anyway,
Sure, absolutely.
so coming back to what we discussing, so we are out of time now. So if there is any last question, I would only take one. If not, we would, end this webinar.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes,
Excuse
one.
me.
Or is it on?
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I just want to ask one question regarding the focus in the future. Like, what are you going to focus in the future? Like in this meeting, in the meeting ahead.
Oh, okay. I think that's for me, Abhijit.
Yeah.
All right. So through Arise Lamka,
Not
what
on the
we
topic.
do-
Sorry.
Okay, so through this project, we are going to focus on students who are currently in class 8, 9, 10, or 11, 12, or maybe we might even cover some people who are in the undergrad right now, and we want to inform them on the different career option that is available, right? So that is our main focus. So we have already organized this kind of webinars. I think it will be around 5 or 6 topics which we have already discussed. You can check them out from the Arise Lamka YouTube channel. So that's what we're going to do in the next, maybe 3 to 6 months down the line. Keep on having this kind of discussion on different topics, and through that, maybe some student might be able to understand or might be able to have an interest in what they want to do next, and that's when we will help them and guide them. So that's the focus for now.
So it will be in which domain, or like which subject specifically, or all-round subject? I mean, in every subject, or is there any specific subject very good?
There will be no specific subject. It's more of like, what kind of career, what kind of job options you can avail after you complete a certain degree or education. So we will not be focusing on any particular subject. It will be rather dependent on what would be your career choices. So depending on that, maybe we can guide you. If you want to go to engineering, then during year 11 and 12 standard, then you have to take, physics, maths, or chemistry. It's like that. So we can guide them in that way. So we're not going to focus only on, let's say, if you want to take science or commerce or arts, then you have to go through this. So we are not going to focus on that. It will be a generic, I would say.
All right, thank you so much. Today's topic is so engaging, and it's so Abhijit sir is so expert. I think I have learned a lot from him. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes.
Lal, thanks
All
a
right.
lot for giving me the opportunity.
Yeah, like our friend has said. So I think we all have learned, even though we don't ask too many questions, but I think this is really going to help. So thank you, everyone. Thank you to Abhijit also for the time, for sharing his experience. Yeah, John.
Thanks a lot.
Before that,
Yeah, John, go
can I
ahead.
please jump in? Like, we have this feedback form for everyone who is taking part in this session. So it will take less than 2 minutes. So I ask everyone to please fill it out so that we can have better understanding what the audience wants to kind of do us do the yeah, that would be.
All right. Yeah. So we have a feedback form. If you can fill it and give a feedback, that would help us to improve ourselves also for the next, webinars. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day. Yeah. And we'll see you next time. Okay.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.